Ferris Bueller's Day Off is one of the most admired movies of the 1980s. Fans have dreamed of a sequel, but the announced spin-off is a bigger idea. In today's video, we are going to discuss Ferris Bueller's Day Off spin-off and who's the new cast. Stay tuned to find out. Well, a surprising spin-off of Ferris Bueller's Day Off has been announced. However, the characters it will focus on may sound like a shocking option that it's actually perfect. Featuring Matthew Broderick and directed by John Hughes, Ferris Bueller's Day Off is one of the most powerful movies of the 1980s. Thanks to its relatable, escapist storyline and quick dialogue. In this film, Ferris convinces his best friend Cameron and girlfriend Sloane to miss school and spend the day in Chicago. Ferris Bueller's Day Off was ahead of its time in multiple regards, including Ferris's regular breaking of the fourth wall and the large musical number during the Von Steuben Day Parade. The famous character also blurs the line between hero and villain, with Matthew Broderick's charming and friendly performance making some of Ferris's appalling actions look ordinary. Along with cheeky teenage behavior, many fans of Ferris Bueller's have called for Ferris, Sloane, and Cameron to return for a belated sequel that reflects the trio taking a day off as adults. But the recently published Ferris Bueller's Day Off film spin-off is a much better idea. The creators of Netflix's Cobra Kai, John Hurwitz, Hayden Schlossberg, and Josh Held have been declared as the producers of Sam and Victor's Day Off, a Ferris Bueller's Day Off spin-off concentrating on the two-car valets who take Cameron's father's Ferrari for a joyride. The film will be set on the same day as Ferris Bueller's Day Off and explore more about what the valets, who only had a few quick moments of screen time, got up to. While the announcement appears strange at first, it's the best way to bring the Ferris Bueller series back. Just like they have with Cobra Kai, the production team knows how to explain the story of people who seem to be losers and who don't have the same sort of freedom as Ferris, which is exactly what Sam and Victor are. There have been calls for Matthew Broderick to return as Ferris Bueller's with Sloane and Cameron for some time, which is why the announcement of a spin-off rather than a sequel will surprise some fans. But a Ferris Bueller sequel has been set almost 4 decades after the original John Hughes film that catches up with the iconic trio in their adult life would be a blunder. However, he radiates confidence and calmness in the 1986 movie. Ferris's teenage opinion was all about living life to the full without any thought to the implications. By Hughes' own admission, Bueller would grow up to be president of the United States or end up in jail because Ferris isn't a nice person. He lies to those in positions of authority and often manipulates his best friend Cameron. With this in mind, catching up with Ferris Bueller could be quite sad. If you're liking this content so far, please consider subscribing and liking this video. Now let's continue. The idea of focusing on the Ferris Bueller car valets is a wild one. Sam and Victor, the earlier unnamed garage attendants, inserted a burst of energy into Ferris Bueller's Day Off as they were briefly shown enjoying a drive in the Ferrari. But just what they got up to is a mystery, as all the film revealed was that the couple added over 100 miles onto the expensive car, which winds up estimated by Cameron at the end of Ferris Bueller. The couple enjoyed their joyride when they handed the keys back in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which is why it'll be fun to see what the two got up to the confirmed spin-off. Ferris Bueller's Day Off is known as a feel-good 80s classic, but its ending makes the film far more meaningful. Released in the summer of 1986, Ferris Bueller's Day Off founded Matthew Broderick as a global megastar, and it remains one of the actor's most famous and beloved roles to date, with Broderick as the trying who misses school along with his best friend Cameron Fry and girlfriend Sloane Peterson. Ferris Bueller's Day Off discovers Ferris engaged in a day of uninhibited rivalry while the strength of authority aims to catch him in the act. John Hughes' 80s films are among the best of that decade, and with Ferris Bueller's Day Off, he has delivered an ultimate masterclass on how to build a teen comedy. It clearly has everything, including a lovable villain of a protagonist, a rarely stuffy but sympathetic sidekick, a villainous authority figure, and parents who are blissfully unfamiliar with the antiques that are evolving. The teenage rebellion on display in Ferris Bueller's Day Off catches not just the spirit of the 80s, but the spirit of youth itself. After enjoying their day of freedom, Ferris, Cameron, and Sloan destroy Cameron's father's Ferrari, sparking a shift in Cameron's behavior. Having achieved his goal for the day, Ferris dashes to home in order to preserve his proof. However, his cover is almost blown, and his sister Jeannie, who has spent all day struggling to catch him in the act of playing hooky, has a change of heart, supporting her brother to prevent consequences for his truancy. It was one of the most famous film endings of its time and stays as one of the most successful moments in all of cinema.